Hi there. It is my honor to tell you about what one shy woman did during the COVID pandemic. You'd think that no one who lived through that nightmare could ever forget it. You'd be wrong. Even world-changing events get lost. Here's a surprising example. No teenager today in the entire world, not a single teenager who is alive, has seen New York's twin World Trade Center towers. They fell 20 years ago, over 20 years, before every teenager alive today was born. In 2020, Mrs. Claire Scalzo decided to help her neighbors, including some she didn't even know, remember them and rich and interesting history. The former Miss Spada's story began in 1923 when she was only 3 years old. Anti-Catholic American bigotry had hit her family and they decided to move. Her parents loaded Claire and her brothers into their car for a drive, and you can bet there were child safety seats in that car. Now, were there? They passed a large white house in the small village of Whippany. There was a for sale sign on it, and Mama thought the house was perfect for the growing family. Just perfect. Claire didn't just grow up in that happy home with 6 brothers and sisters. No. She lived there for almost a century. You heard me right. She lived in the same house for almost 100 years. Wow. It protected her during the Great Depression, World War II, Korea, and the Cold War. The Cuban Missile Crisis almost started World War III. It's hard to believe children were taught to hide under their desks to protect themselves from atomic bombs going on outside. Really? There was the war in Vietnam. There was terrorism. 2,977 innocent men and women died on September 11th, including friends of mine. They were all murdered, which sparked wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. There were lots of terrible things that happened in that century, but, and there's always a but, there were also things of wonder, some of which were even invented near her house. A huge Bell Laboratories facility was on the hill across the river from her backyard. Claire was only 6 years old when it transmitted the world's first television broadcast. The first. Can you imagine there was a time when TV did not exist? In that same year, Steamboat Willie hit the big screen. Most people now know him as Mickey Mouse. During Claire's 30s, tests of the sound barrier breaking X1 and the much faster X-15's engines took place not too far from her house. That test platform is now honored as the gateway to space. It's just over there. Those engines are its legacy. Before she turned 40, Sputnik flew over her head to start the space race. America responded by putting men on the moon and bringing the planets and stars up close and personal by putting space, the final frontier, Star Wars, and more in our homes and up on the silver screen. Claire got to hear rock and roll and baby boom cries. She heard Princess Diana and Jackie Kennedy, popes, presidents, sinners, saints. Claire was born in a world where Amazon meant a river, where cells make up your body, phones hung on walls, and where apples were fruit. There were many changes, including some that were painful. Her parents died, siblings moved away, and her beloved husband passed. Eventually, The passage of time made it impossible for her to live alone. She chose to leave her treasured nest, knowing she would desperately miss it. There is another something important about that house. It was built in 1796, so it's on the state and national registers of historic homes. It's also next door to the Whippany Burying Yard, which has Northwest New Jersey's Plymouth Rock, the 1718 tombstone of John Richards. That's the first dated colonial artifact in this whole region. Whippany's men and women helped build America. They farmed, mined, invented, and transformed ore into implements on the nearby 1715 Iron Forge. They fought in all of America's wars. Just a couple of years before Claire's house was built, a paper mill opened there. It grew into the world's largest paper mill complex. 200 years of industrial history ended in 1980 when the mill closed. The area around her home is now branded. It's called Whippany Historic. Its nickname is Why-Hi. Her home-turned-museum will be one of the Why-Hi crown jewels. Now, it's going to be named the Tuttle Spada Museum. Tuttle's built it, Spada's donated it. It will honor her parents, teach of rich history, and inspire the next generations. By the way, she was born Flavia Claire Spada, but, and here's another but, she always liked her middle name better. And that's the truth. Another, by the way, the house was on the same avenue until 1936, and it's not there anymore. No, they didn't move it. No. New Jersey came along and plopped 4-lane Route 10 directly in front of what formerly had been 341 Mount Pleasant Avenue. Another, by the way, the great fictional saga, Lord of the Rings, starts with Bilbo giving his home to Frodo. Now think about that. Fiction. Claire's gift was not, it was real. But, and here's a last but, that gift would not have taken place except for Claire's baby brother. Jules did all the paperwork. Of course, he was only 91. He's going to help his big sister. No question about that. Let me end this with a hope that the museum opened its doors for the very first time on July 4th, 2026. Now that year is the 350th anniversary of the founding of Whippany, and that day is the 250th birthday of the United States. Claire is going to be there, absolutely, in spirit. She passed on March 23rd, 2023. Right now, she is enjoying the reward of a life well spent, an eternity in the presence of God Himself. God bless you, Claire. God bless the United States. Everyone. Until the next time. Bye now.